Your family. That was your family.
Testing. So, good afternoon, everybody. Let me take a moment just to thank everybody, family, friends, brothers, sisters, grandchildren. I want to thank those who are viewing online. We know many of you could not be here this afternoon. And so those of you who are joining online, understand that you are not being missed. Thank you so much for being with us. I originally was not purposed to do this. What? Oh. Yeah, I originally was not purposed to do this. But due to some unforeseen things that have taken place, I am, apparently. And I have to say this. Guys, you are going to help me so much to get through this. I need you to get through this. Otherwise, it's just not going to be done, okay? So please, this is not a funeral. My father did not believe in funerals. He would go to them out of respect, but Dad did not want a funeral. Dad wanted to be celebrated. And rightfully so, the life that he lived for 86 years. Married to Mom for 65. Together for 67. I had to get those numbers right. That right there, I'm just gonna say this, and he may get upset at me for saying this. I don't know who that speaks more to, Mom or him. But you're gonna hear a lot said about Dad today. And I encourage every one of you who's been impacted by Dad's life, when the opportunity presents itself, share with those who are present here, and share with those who are viewing online, because they, as well as yourselves, will get to understand Howard C. Smith, Howard Carlisle Smith, and by the way, that is not spelled with an S. We found this out yesterday. So, be it as it is, I'd like to get started. I think I gave you a program, right? Yeah, I'm gonna probably use your program. It has big print. Indulge me for one moment. I'm just going to open up in a word of prayer. Father, in your tender loving mercies, we come before you today. Yes, Lord, I have asked my family to help me in this facilitation. But truthfully, Lord, I can't do this apart from you. Holy Spirit, I ask and pray that you would so strengthen me as well as strengthen every individual here today, those present and those online. I ask and pray that you would shore up each one of us, not only today, but in days, weeks, and months, and even years to come. You are a gracious God, and only you know things that we don't. So we trust you with everything that you have done thus far. Lord, you are a good, good Father. And for that, we give you eternal praise. Amen. Need your program. Thank you. Again, thank everybody for being here today. It's been a bit of a road. I have no idea what. My cell phone? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was just reminded, and I got to do it myself. If you would silence your cell phones, please. Thank you, Charles. Yeah, they're here somewhere. Oh, they're right here. Right next to my wife, who looked just past them. Guys, listen, I'm just going to say something for real. I am going to say some things. They may not be humorous to you, but I'm going to say some things just to break this up for me. I really am. It's going to help me get through this. Okay? So if I say things, please laugh. Yeah, see, like that. Exactly. Howard C. Smith. Howard Carlisle Smith, 86 years old, and has lived a good life. Today, many of you are going to say many things, at least I hope so. For the last 2 weeks, last week before Dad departed, we got to spend some phenomenal time with him. We really did. And many of you not able to be here had the opportunity to make phone calls. Charles, can you do me a favor and get me a water, please? Thank you. So, we're going to move forward, and I really, this is as much for you as it is. You can't hear me? take it off? I will in a second. So, we're going to move forward with this program. We've just formatted this just to put some order to this. We're going to begin. I believe it's Stephen. And guys, those of you who have programs, and those of you who are going to read tributes or poems, I'm going to ask that you would be at the ready. Excuse me. We have 2 mics here on each side. And thanks, Charles. Appreciate it. Regular. Yeah. So, Stephen, if you would come forward. Take your time. And guys, I will be right back. Excuse me 1 second.
To the family of Howard C. Smith, also known as Smitty or Smit. My friend Smitty, or Smit as I called him, always the professional, the teacher, a pioneer of U.S. Customs who taught us what not to do, and if we did it, how to do it, but more than anything else, a most loyal friend. I did not get to know him until I became an inspector. I saw him stroll through the old Building 80 as an inspector when I was a clerk, always giving the uniform a special meaning, carrying himself with extreme pride, as only a Brooklyn man with class and pride would do. He gave the uniform special meaning. Those times made me think, one day perhaps that could be me. When I became an inspector, there were not that many black inspectors. However, more than when Smith became one. Times were changing. We not only had to learn the rules and regulations, we had to do better than most. We had to be careful of who we went to help us and who we could trust. Smith was the one you could trust, and he did not play, he was the player. His judgment, in my opinion, was impeccable. As I write this, I think about the times we talked, which was daily, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. Laughing at the gossip or discussing the latest news, my telling him what I was reading and that I would send him a copy. We laughed until we had no breath left. Our respective partners must have thought, what are those 2 nuts laughing about? I pray commitment never came into their minds. When he informed me of the prognosis concerning his health, he told me his conversation would only be one time and one time only. I cried and I knew he wasn't playing, and we still talked, but I realized I would have to say how I felt if his family allowed me the honor. So I tried to figure out what I would like to say and how I would remember him. Since he was such a genius, in my opinion, with finance, I thought about the check we all have to cash. When he entered this world, he had a pact with God. God allowed him to grow, formulating his beliefs and giving him that great ability to determine his way at an early age. He gave him a wife of 65 years, and he gave him his sons and 1 daughter, in which we all know they were his pride of all. He gave him grandchildren whom he loved, with all he had in him, no matter how many times he may have sounded grouchy. That was his nature. He had to be right. God gave him the ability to instill certain values in his children's lives. He built a dynasty at U.S. Customs. And believe me when I tell you, he was so proud of his sons and his granddaughter for following his footsteps. He loved and was very proud of his family. Well, time began to pass, and thank God he did not suffer long. We know how much he loved to take the auto train when he came to New York, and he knew he had one last train ride, on the train that was coming and slowly pulling into the station. He had paid for his ticket a long time ago. All he had to do was step on board, and quietly he did. I will remember my friend forever, and I will wait for that phone call, because when it does come, I know our spirits and friendship will meet again. Love to all of you, especially his beloved wife Dorothy, his brothers Barry and Charles, sister Marilyn, and husband Jimmy, brother-in-law, his loving sons Darrell, Jeffrey, and Sheldon, and all the family, especially the Grands, and I understand I'm so sorry I could not be there. But I will always have my memories until we laugh together again. Deepest sympathy and heartfelt thanks for allowing me to share your husband, father, and brother, who was my best friend. Signed, Marilyn.
And for those, many of you don't know who Marilyn is. Marilyn, I have to, it's Marilyn, not Marilyn. She was a friend of Dad's from Customs, and they talk just about every day. Marilyn and I don't think there was a day that ever went by that Dad's friend Eddie in Brooklyn they probably spoke maybe more than once a day. They grew up maybe at the age of 5 or 6 years old and remained friends till Dad's passing. And I had the pleasure of talking with Eddie a couple of times over the past couple of weeks. And let me see if I can adjust this mic. He simply said he misses his friend. I believe now we're going to have Jeffrey. Those of you, I ask when you do come up to speak, please, if you need some help adjusting the mic to your height or to be as close as possible, I'm informed that those who are viewing online cannot hear well, and because you're standing up here all by yourself, please, you take your mask off and you can speak, just don't spit on the mic. Yeah. So Jeffrey?
I'm trying to spit.
Okay. And before you get started, Max, if you would come up here, you can have a seat there and be ready for. Thank you.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have a poem. I don't know how to write poems, but something different came to mind when I thought about writing something for my father. And I just want to let you know that all of this is a tribute, so I don't consider this a tribute. This is more just a personal reflection I'm sharing with you. And 7 years ago, a couple in Brooklyn brought forth my father, Howard. And long before I made my appearance on the stage of this place that we call our world and my life, my father had already basically done and seen it all. He helped support a family of 3 brothers and a sister from a young age. Worked long hours, traveled, served, sinned, stumbled, recovered, progressed in his life, moved out of places he lived, and moved up. Raised a family, and most of all, in my opinion, made a fine example. In fact, the way he lived his life was by example. Imperfect, certainly, but plenty of qualities well worth following. He taught me responsibility by being responsible. He taught me perseverance by showing me the rewards that come from sticking with something, seeing something through, following things to the end, not giving up. He taught me the importance of understanding the obvious, of overstating the obvious also, for other people's sake, which he was very good at doing all the time. As my brothers and I will attest, to the way that he would report to us critical pieces of news, important information, things that we already had heard, but then we always had to hear from my father, because it wasn't news broken until my father broke it. That's how he was. Also, delivering upon us scoldings all the time, and mostly by phone, that we always knew was coming. Sharing with us a reminder, again and again and again, repeatedly, and always imparting to us sacred pieces of wisdom. My father always had wisdom. Sometimes it was cloaked in criticisms, and also in making fun of the writing. My father would like to make fun of people when he was telling them something, but he was telling them something, always. And anyway, with all the things he would say and do, there was always very important information that he was sharing with us. And whenever he would bring things up with me, eventually it was news that I would verify. It was wisdom and information that I would corroborate the hard way, which is the way everyone has to in their life when they're an adult. But in the end, it was always a lesson learned. That was the most important thing. And I'm going to come to the most important part. Finally, he taught me patience. And he did so by confronting me constantly with one issue occurring or another. Sometimes he would have a way of verbally beating up somebody. And it would seem like it was because he wanted to show that he was right. But I come to learn that it was because he thought he knew best, and he thought he was right. And my father was never about winning. When he would talk to somebody and tell them something he thought he didn't know or should know, it was for their benefit. And that's number one, especially for us as children. How I would deal with it? Well, I either would submit to it or I would hang the phone up on him. Many times. And he would just, he never submit, but he would hang up the phone all the time. But over time that developed in me patience. Because you really can't and should never try to escape from your own parents. Sometimes you can try to ignore them. Sometimes you could yes, and I listen. But you can't go too far. Eventually, you're always back home, and your parents are always there. And eventually, you listen, even when they're not talking. Because sometimes the language and the lessons set in subconsciously over time. And you realize that they were right. Anyway, how we deal with it, like one of my brothers, he learned to adapt to their argument style. So, like verbal judo. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. It all depended on, I guess, my father's feelings at that moment, when he was going through it at that time. Sometimes I even got the feeling that he would appreciate when I was making a strike back with verbal judo. Sometimes I would just get the click. But he and I really saw eye to eye on things in life, except in politics. Pretty much, that was the main thing. But at least we always looked each other in the eye. So we learned to stand there and listen. Sometimes it involved arguing, but we would face each other and we would talk. And I learned to say, you know what, you're right. And I learned to say, I'm sorry. And the funny thing is, in the very end, over that last month or so, I heard it from my father. Agreed with me. Said I was right about something. And I didn't make a big deal about it. But it was special. Something I wanted to add. It's about the last time that we were together and talked. Just to let you know, over life, my lifespan, which is not as nearly as long as my father's was, he's always been there and bailed me out. Been my savior for my life, because I would not be where I am if he had not done so. When we were alone at home, the weekend that I spent for Father's Day, and all family that had come to see him was there, he called me in a moment when everyone was outside the room, and I was close by, but he said, Jeff, I want to tell you something. He called me closer. And he said, Jeffrey, you're a pain in the ass, but I love you. And that was probably the sweetest thing I ever heard him say to me. And, no, honestly, I mean, he called me pain in the ass many times before. But he never said pain in the ass and I love you together in the same sentence. So I know what that meant. And that was the last thing that he spoke to me personally. So I'll never forget that. And I just want to say, as far as all those lessons and things, and the patience, perseverance, responsibility, all those characteristics, it came with a struggle, because children struggle with their parents and against their parents. And there's a battle of will sometimes, but right normally wins. I think righteousness always wins. And a parent who's looking out for his children is always right. And there's probably nothing more righteous than that. So I just want to say, God bless a father who argues with their children and punishes them and teaches them lessons for the sake of their lives. Because if not for the parents, where would we be? And so I thank God, and I thank you too, Daddy. I love you.
Not that Jeffrey has taken up just about everybody's time. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, Jeff, I very much appreciate everything that you said because, you know, I gotta say this. So Matisse and I were thinking about this one day. Jeffrey mentioned something about Dad moving. In my lifetime, just in New York alone, we moved 10 times. 10 times. And Dad did, you know, he did. When he moved in preparation, always for something, always for something better, you know. Guilty. One time we moved, it was my fault. So, just one. But yeah, that's just how he was. And Max.
So I'm not just like, I'm like my dad, honestly, quite the opposite. I'm not good at formulating poems myself. I tried looking around, you know, seeing something that might, you know, correlate with my relationship with my papa, or just how I ruminated, you know, on my, you know, my past with him. But I just felt he's such a unique entity, you know, such a unique character. I couldn't really find something that truly like encapsulated, you know, his persona. Nothing to the degree that I don't think any poem not about him could. I have even struggled making this myself because he's such a grandiose character. So I've tried putting it together myself. Papa, you were the king cheese with an African soup bone. Sitting in your corner throne. The news was your favorite from there. A fraction of the things I'll miss the most. Your stories we listen. Frozen in time forever in memory. Your animated face while telling jokes. With this too, you are immortalized. A fraction of the things I'm thankful for. I remember long ago, but not so long ago. Smooth jazz car rides. After school, Chinese food weekends. You snoring. In that corner throne. You love the snore a lot. A fraction of the things I'll miss the most. Fractured but not broken, because memories of you are endless. You'd say, how's your mother? How's school? What's new with you? You'd say, did you have lunch? How about a sandwich? I'll make you a sandwich. Always stubborn, but not as stubborn as me. You taught me about family, because family is all we have when we have nothing else. As I get older, less weekends with you have gone by. And to that I say I'm sorry. I start to lose those moments and lose touch. But as I get to a close, you teach me that stubborn is okay, but stubborn is temporary. Because when I see you and when we talk, that time doesn't exist that we were apart. I wasn't easy. Those years of silence. But looking at those photo albums of those memories captured through years. I was always there with you. I don't want to repeat history. The history you helped cultivate. The history I didn't appreciate always. But now that I'm here, older, wiser, but never the wisest. I learned from the past for a better future. And so I stand here with you, because you're here with us, because your memories last. You helped me be the man I am today, and I stand here with family. To be the man that I'm supposed to be. And so, if your family is forever, as we are here today, the impact you made on all of us, even me, especially me, will always be here forever to stay. Thank you, Papa, for the lessons, for putting up with my stubborn ways. I'll make a proud man of myself. And I know you'll be there watching me. Thank you.
No, thank you, Max. Sheldon.
Life of Howard. The first of 5 children, Howard was born in Brooklyn, New York, on September 10, 1934, to parents Charles Francis and Norma Smith. Howard spent his boyhood growing up at 129 Putnam Avenue. He attended Eastern District High School in his early teen years. At age 15, he joined the National Guard, which subsequently had become activated for military service. He was removed from active Army service by the intervention of his parents, as he was too young to serve. At the age of 17, he then joined the United States Air Force, ultimately serving overseas in Okinawa. Upon returning to the United States, while home on leave in Brooklyn, Howard met a young lady, Dorothy, my mom, who became the love of his life. They married. They married on January 29th, 1956. They had 4 children in a loving marriage for the last 65 years. Howard joined the U.S. Customs Service in March 1956 as a clerk, and after 36 years of government service, he retired September 1990 as a senior customs inspector, receiving many acknowledgments and awards of outstanding service. He loved traveling throughout his life. Throughout his life, Howard met many interesting and famous people and was well respected. He had a thirst for knowledge, and what he learned he shared with others. He loved dressing well. Seeing nice clothes, and especially shoes, were his favorite hobby. One of his pastimes was keeping things organized. He believed everything had its own place. Dad always thought he knew what was right and what was wrong. He was still right. Howard loved his family, and as we all know, he would do anything he could for those he loved. He was a good man, a good husband, father, grandfather, and brother. Not perfect, but he had a good heart and always wanted the best for others. His life will always have impact on family as well as friends. Howard was survived by his wife Dorothy, children Darrell, wife Matisse, Sheldon and wife Mattel, Jeffrey and his wife Anya, siblings, brother Charles F. Smith II, and Virginia, sister Marilyn and Jimmy Warren, brother Barry Smith and Laverne, grandchildren Darrell II, Devin, Stephen, Ashley, Sky, Shane, Leah, Maximo, Lucas and Emily, and grandchild Jason. First cousin Alma, Carol, Andrea, as well as countless nieces and nephews, extended family members. He was preceded in death by his parents, Charles F. Smith and Norma Smith, daughter Deirdre Hooper, and brother Ronald Smith.
So I guess by now, I don't know if some of you happen to notice that a few of us had jeans on. Even Mom looked at me and she said, "Red?" And I'm like, yeah. Anybody who knew my father, he loved to dress. Dad had just an array of good clothes, which we're now in the process of giving away. But the reason some of us wore jeans, really it was kind of a tribute to Dad. Dad had a favorite pair of jeans. They had holes in them, and he made them a fashion before they became a fashion. That was just his favorite pair of jeans. And I said, you know, if he were to come here today, his preference would be to wear a pair of jeans. You know, he had jackets and, just all kind of awesome clothes. But Dad just, I don't know, maybe it had something to do with Florida. He just liked to be casual. And he would wear his jacket with his jeans, or a suit jacket with jeans, or that's just the way he was, Dad was just a casual guy. He really was. There was no. There may have been a time. You know what? Hold on. I hope. Well, he can't get in trouble for this now.
So there's a picture of Dad in his uniform. So I'm assuming he was probably at work. No, okay, maybe this picture was taken when he came home after work and he just hadn't changed his uniform. But he has a Heineken bottle while he's eating a plate of food. And so, you know, but he took everything serious. I mean, he loved to joke, he loved to tell stories, but everything, just like his life, everything had a real place in his life. Everything. Yeah. We are now going to open up the floor to everybody that would like to come forward and say something. We ask that if we would kind of keep it to, you know, a minimum, if you can, of 2 minutes, but, you know, it's kind of hard to know Dad. And then what you're going to share about him, you keep to 2 minutes. And anybody who knew my father, that just didn't happen. He didn't keep his conversations to 2 minutes. Just as I believe Jeffrey said, we all heard the same stories, and we heard them over and over. And it wasn't uncommon, and this had nothing, this was not dementia or anything, but it was not uncommon for us to hear the same story in one conversation more than once. That was just Dad. He was full. Dad was full. There, you know, and what was in him came out. Sometimes maybe didn't need to, but you know, but that's who he was. Dad was real. Dad was forward. He was to the point, and he told you, you know, he told you what he thought, how he felt. And I think he made it easy for you to respect him. Because he didn't hold things back. He would tell you what he felt you needed to hear, whether you wanted to hear it or not. Because he always felt that it was something that was going to be necessary for your life. Whether it was something that he learned later on in life, and maybe he wished he had learned what he was sharing. Maybe he wished he had learned that when he was our age. Well, 63 now, so. But for those of you who are like 16, maybe, but that's just who he was. So I'm going to open up the floor for those of you who would like to come up. Please, you know, every one of you have a wealth of Dad in you. So please, at this time, if you would begin making your way either to the left or to the right. Now, thank you. Thanks, Diane. By the way, that's my beautiful cousin. Yes. And that's her handsome husband back there.
Hello, everyone. Greetings and blessings I bring to you from the St. John family.
Amen.
We have a very large family. And I'm looking at all you young people who are my cousins that I don't even know. I've seen some of you when you were really, really small, and some of you I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, but I will meet you today. But we have a very big family. And a great deal of my life and my childhood was spent with Howard and Dot and Darryl and Dee Dee and Sheldon and Jeffrey. He came along at the end, but we all spent a lot of time at 129 Putnam Avenue. Howard was my mom's first cousin and my second cousin, and he was very, very close. I want to say my mom was probably raised in her teen years more like a younger sister to him than a cousin, because she moved into Putnam Avenue and lived with her grandparents for a while after her mom died. So she's got a lot of stories that she shared about growing up in the Smith household. I was so happy that whenever Howard would come to New York after he moved to Florida, they always made time to come by my mom's to visit. So he'd bring Norma over and Dot over, and they'd get together, and my mom would have to put stuff together really, really quick, because Howard never gave you advance notice. It would be a call like, we're going to be in Brooklyn, and we're coming by. So I can remember my mom calling me like, go to the store and pick this or that up, because she always wanted to make a nice little spread when they came over. And we spent a lot of time on the phone. I'm a big talker, so Howard and I were just right at home when we get on the phone with each other. And when we were together at different family events, whether they were happy events or sad events, we always found ourselves together talking, gossiping about the family, or laughing at some little chuckle or two that he would have. He was very opinionated. So he always would make you crack up on the side, because he'd have something to say about everybody. But that was the good thing, because it wasn't maliciously said or anything. It was all in humor. So we had a lot of laughs. And we spent a lot of time on the phone after my mom passed, and it's almost 15 years. So I'm really happy that we had the opportunity to keep the family together through the miles, that I knew what was going on in all of your lives, and he knew what was going on in all of my family and my children's lives. So he shared a lot of your great accomplishments. He was very, very proud of all of you. And it was just wonderful, wonderful times that we shared. And I'm glad that last year, I think it was September, October, my brother had came down to visit me. We're new to Florida. My husband and I moved here a year and 8 months ago. So we joined. We were like, only family we have is Dot and Howard here in Florida, but nevertheless, it's some family here. And we got a chance to meet up during the pandemic. We all was a little apprehensive on getting together because everybody had fear in them. But we were like, we're going to get together. And we met at a restaurant, and we had a wonderful time. And I'm so blessed that I got a chance to speak to him the week before he passed. He was very weak, and Dot and I we were talking for a while, and she was updating me on everything that was going on. And he heard that she was talking to me and said, I want to talk to Diane. So I was just so blessed to hear his voice, and I took that as our final hurrah. But I'll carry with me in my heart all the fond memories that we shared as children. Dee Dee and Darryl and I, we'd run up and down those stairs in 129 endlessly. And Marilyn, of all the times that you took Dee Dee and I out, and it's just wonderful, wonderful times. Ebbets Field died, I'll never forget those days. So I just wanted to share that he made a great impact in my life. And one more thing I want to tell you, Howard always lied about killing the bird. And that was a family thing between my mom and her sisters and brothers, that they'd always talk about how Uncle Sonny got in trouble for killing the bird at their grandparents' house. But it was really Howard that stuck a stick into the cage, playing, trying to make the bird jump around, and ended up killing the bird. And when we met last year, we had a laugh on that, because he tried to say something, and I was like, I knew the truth. So that's a great fond memory I'll keep as well. Blessings to all of you, and the family has asked me to express their deepest sympathy and condolences to all of you.
Thank you, Diane. So see, I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because, and I think Marilyn's the only one in this room that'll probably remember this. Abbott the rabbit. Guilty again. We had a rabbit at Putnam Avenue. Abbott the rabbit. And I think I was the youngest one out of the group. And I was not supposed to be taking the rabbit in and out of the house, because to go into the backyard, you actually had to go down the stairs, into the basement, through the dark hallway, which always, there were these archways, and it was dark inside each archway, and it was like, I'm not gonna lie, there were times I would run, like from the foot of the stairs to the back, because you almost felt like something was gonna jump out at you. So, but I did. I had the rabbit in my arms. I'm walking up the steps, going to the backyard, and the steps were made out of like big slabs of slate. And he jumped out of my arms, and he broke his back. So everybody called me a murderer. And that's all they did. Andrea, yeah, Andrea, and I know you're watching. Andrea, Barry, Dee Dee. Did you call me a murderer, Marilyn? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But that's, they would just walk by and say, murderer, murderer. So, little to say, I stopped taking the, well, couldn't take that rabbit out in the backyard anymore. But then we got another rabbit, and I never picked him up. Jacques. That's right. Sure did. Just a Nia. Sure.
Hi, my name is Barbara, and my husband worked with Smitty in Customs. And they were quite a pair, the two of them. They were sort of like a Laurel and Hardy. But it was Smitty, my husband was a workaholic, and it was Smitty who pushed him to finally take vacations. Many of them were with Dot and Smitty and the kids. And you know, there are people in this world who live their lives, and when they pass, you really can't find anything good, anything special to say about them. That wasn't Smitty. He had the warmest, he wasn't outwardly affectionate, but you knew when he cared about you, and you knew when he loved you. And we would go on vacations, just as an example. We went to Cancun, and Smitty always, wherever we went, always managed to give me a giggle a day. And we'd be walking in the morning, and Smitty would see a shoe store. Well, he couldn't pass the shoe store. So naturally, my husband followed him in, and the salesman said, okay, what's your size? So Smitty, being petite, says, I don't know, it was 6 or 7, something like that. And he said, very well, I'll bring out some shoes. And he looked at my husband and he said, and what size are you? My husband was a big man. And Smitty piped up, canal boats. He was always there. And, you know, he'll always, we may have lost him from this world, and it's a great loss. But there's a special part in each and every one of our hearts that he will always hold a piece of. So he's never really gone. because a part of him is in each and every one of us. We started out as friends, and I now consider the Smith family. They became my extended family, and a great deal of love. Another vacation we took was to Vegas. It was our first trip together, remember? And it poured. I mean, we had such a storm. And my husband said in the cab to the driver, "Is this what happens all the time at this time of year?" So the driver says, "Never." So Smitty piped up and said, "That's because Joe's not here." Then we went to the Bahamas. We went to St. Martin. Again, it was a tropical storm coming up, and we had to leave earlier. Smitty and my husband ran to the airport, being customs. They thought they could get special privileges, and said, "You need to get us on this plane." And there were 6 of us that had to get on the island. Sure enough, they made the arrangements, came back, and we left. Smitty turned to my husband, I'll never forget, and he said, "I don't think I want to travel with you anymore." Every time I'm with you, it rains. But there were special moments, I know, and he has the warmest, and he always told me, he had the warmest, most loving family that anybody could have in this world. So we mourn his loss, but we celebrate that he is now reaping the rewards of a job well done, because he will never be forgotten, and a special place in our heart will always be. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anybody else? Family? Friends? Want me to lower the mic for you?
While he's doing that, I'll let you all know that Andrea texted me to say, "Yes, we killed her rabbit." Good afternoon, everyone. Howard was my brother, but you have to know that he was quite a bit older than I am. So he was a brother/father to me. I don't know life without him. And it's going to be very difficult not hearing him every day. And we spoke every day, unless I was cooking, and I would say, "Howie, I'll call you right back," and didn't. 2 or 3 days would go by, 4 days would go by, and then I'd say, I haven't spoken to Howie. I must not have called him. I would call him, and he would say, "Oh, you finished cooking?" He would not call me back if I told him I was going to call him and didn't. And he would hold on to that. He would hold on to that. There's so many things I want to say, and I know I'll forget half of them. Dot is an angel that God put on this earth to save my brother. And when you finally go, no time soon, I know your wings and your halo and your crown and everything else is waiting for you. Because without Dot, I don't know how he would have existed. He never did laundry. He said he didn't know how. Never changed a diaper. Out of all 4 children and all the grands, never changed a diaper. But he was totally family oriented. I said we spoke every day. And we did. We spoke every day. Towards the end, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. I find myself coming up with questions, and now I have nobody else to turn to with answers, because he was the answer. You could call him and ask him anything about anyone in the family, and he knew, and would tell you in great detail, and maybe over and over again. But he was the family historian. Now he's gone. There were quite a few of us who were able to come down shortly before he passed away, Father's Day weekend. And that was such a blessing, because we got to see him. And I'll tell everyone, if you have a chance to go see someone you love, go see them, rather than go look at them when they're gone. We had a chance to laugh and cry and say, I love you, and hear him say back, I love you too. I don't think that there is a blessing on earth greater than that. When I was coming down to see him on the 27th of June, 28th of June, because my niece, Maya, and her mom were coming up to see us and stay with us. And if you know a little bit about me, you know how I love to entertain. And I was having company. They were coming and spending a week with us. And something told me, I can't wait. If I do, I'll regret it. And God knows I would have regretted it. I left Ann and Maya in the house. I baked a ham and made a big pot of potato salad so that they'd have something to eat. But I left. Jimmy and I left and came down to Florida. And I'm telling you that it was such a blessing that we got to see him and talk to him. And he reamed every one of us. He told all of the stories, all the stuff that we did. That first night we were up to way past midnight. And I said, that's okay, tomorrow night I'll get him. That didn't happen. He made it so that there was, that there wasn't time for that. He asked me to do one last thing for him. And I know Dad didn't want me to do it. And that was to make a huge dinner for the family. And Dad was saying, no, we can just order something in. With all the things that Howard ever did for me, this was the last thing that I could do for him. And I did it with joy. And I have to do one more thing, is that he was in bed. And I said, Howard, why don't you come and sit in the chair outside? Howard had the most beautiful eyes. He opened his eyes real wide. And he said, no. And I got a little peeved, I got a little pissed, and I said, you asked me to do something for you, now I'm asking you to do something for me. No. Big round mouth, no. I said, okay. And I walked out and went back to the kitchen. A couple of minutes later, here come Darryl and Sheldon, helping Howie into the living room, where he sat and held court. And the people would change and he would talk to each one. And you want to know how good he was? Poor Max. Max went to throw something in the garbage. Howie yells out, "We have a garbage disposal, you know." Poor Max. I'm gonna miss him terribly, terribly. And the thing that I'm gonna miss most of all is that when the phone rings in the morning, it's not gonna be him.
Thank you, Mel. So, yeah, no, come on up to me. So here's how that happened. Dad promised Matisse the day before that he was gonna come out. So that next day, and we were like, "Dad, you coming out?" And he was like, "Nope." So I was in there and I said, "Dad, Matisse is on her way over. And you told her yesterday that you were gonna come out." And his eyes, again, like Marilyn said, went like this. And we got him up. And he came out. I don't know what it was about Matisse, but Matisse and Dad had a special bond. I've heard Matisse on several occasions, and she would say, "Dad, did I just hear you say that?" And he would go, and he'd look down. That's just the way it was. Yeah, Jimmy.
I'm not going to be as long as the other speakers because I don't know that many words. But, other than Barbara, I'm probably the first person up here whose blood is not filled with Howard Smith's blood. But Howard Smith is in my heart. He's someone that I've known for quite a while, and he was an extremely unique individual. People have talked about his wisdom, his knowledge, and his humor. And there's one thing in particular I'm reminded of, and it happened not too long ago. We were sitting at the dining room table at my house with his grandkids. Julie was there, Stephen was there, Julie was also there, and we were just bantering, talking and whatnot. And Howard and I often bantered with one another. And I told the group, I said, I had asked Howard, what does he prefer, briefs or boxers? And Howard looked at me and said, depends. And then, funny, a couple of weeks ago, Howard, I'm sorry, not a couple weeks ago, but just prior to his passing away, I was talking around on the phone. He said, tell Jimmy, yes, I do, it depends. Howie was a talker. As Marilyn indicated, he would talk to Marilyn virtually every single morning for an hour plus. And I would ask Marilyn, I said, Marilyn, what happened between yesterday and today that required another hour-long conversation? I never could understand that. But that's who he was. And when there were those times when Howard became a little peeved because Marilyn didn't call him right back, it was strange not having him call, and even now. And he called us with everyone else, most people call us on our cell phones. Howard always called on the house phone. When that house phone rings even today, I think of Howard. So that's Howard. But unfortunately, I know it's not. He is probably, as his father was, I used to enjoy the erudite conversations I used to have with Howard's father. Howie was the same way. He was one of the most knowledgeable people I know. He knew every name, he knew history as if he had studied it, as if he had a master's degree in it. And we would have great conversations all the time. But as has been indicated here, he loves to talk. He loves to talk. And it's hard to get a word in edgewise. Once Marilyn was talking to him, he was on the phone. Marilyn put it on mute, went downstairs, did some stuff, and then, came back, put it up and said, yeah, right. And then she cut it off again, she went back down, came up about 5 minutes later, and, yeah, okay. Cut it off, went back to it, and he was still talking. And he talks, and he's so persistent because he really doesn't hear what you have to say because it's what he says that's important. And he was talking, and I said, your name is Howard, right? He said, no, you understand. Like he wouldn't even admit that his name was Howard because he wasn't listening to what you had to say. But this is an individual that I'm going to miss. He is truly a relative of mine. He is someone that I've communicated with often. He's one that I think about even to this day. I understand and appreciate the relationship that he's had not only with my wife, and today is our anniversary, I love you, sweetheart, not only with his wife, but with his kids, with his grandkids, with his nieces, and with his friends. That's the type of individual he was. Those people came first. It was important to him that they were satisfied, that they were pleased. And he knew it was important to him because he knew that what he was telling them was the right thing to do. As long as they listened to him, everything would be cool. Howie, rest in peace. You're my brother for life. And I must say one more thing, and I know I said it wasn't long, but Dorothy Smith is one of the most incredible women that I've ever met. I love her dearly. I met her over some 30 some odd years ago. She has been a true Smith. She's been a true person, a true friend, and an incredible, more like sister than sister-in-law. And I love you dearly. Take care.
Would anybody else like to share? Sky, would you like to make your way up? Sure.
Sorry, I'm like trying to stay together. Howard, to me and my cousins, he was Papa. I really miss him, and there's so many things I can say about that man. He was a pain in my ass, but I loved him so dearly, and I know that he loves me. He had a funny way of showing affection because the things he would say and the way he would ask about your day, his affection was all in the way he wanted to know about your life. I used to work part-time at Target, and he knew when I was getting a bonus before I knew. And he always asked about the day and how work went, and he would go to his Target here and call me and tell me about the Target over and over again. And I'll miss his pop-up stories, that's what we call them in the house. He had these little stories about me and the twins when we were little, and he would talk about them over and over again. Like how we went to Sylvia's, and there were a lot of black people, and I asked if we were in Africa. And when I licked a plate at a fancy restaurant, and when I yelled at Grandma to stop eating peanuts because she spilled the peanuts on the table. And those were all pop-up stories, and I know that he would love to hear them again if he was here. He was like an encyclopedia, and I knew that any questions I had, like Aunt Marilyn said, I could ask him. It hurts knowing that I won't be able to ask him those questions anymore. And I always said that if I was in Jeopardy, he would be my person, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, he would be my phone call, because there's nothing that man didn't know. And he loved to gossip, so I knew everything about all of your personal lives too from him. He was very special, and I love him and I miss him, and we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I told him he was old-fashioned, he didn't like my tattoos, he didn't like the way that I lived life, I didn't like the way he talked about people sometimes, but I love that I inherited my stubbornness from him. And I didn't realize until today that I actually see a lot of pop-up in me. I'm always overdressed like him. You can never be overdressed. And my love of history is definitely from pop-up. And I know that whether I teach history or go to law school, I'll make him proud. I didn't know that pop-up always wanted to be a lawyer. So that was something interesting that I learned. And yeah, I just want to make Papa proud, and I really do miss him. So this is a short poem. It's called A Grandfather at His Best. Since the day you went away, it's gotten harder and harder. Seems like yesterday that we were together. Then I opened my eyes to realize you were gone forever. It will slice our heart away to know you're not here with us for the rest of our lives. Family parties and dinners won't be the same because you won't be there. There's going to be that empty chair near that dinner table where it's going to be empty and cold. You're a man that gave us inspiration and courage to achieve our goals. You told us our rights and from wrong, and most of all, put others before you. You're not going to be with us, but you'll be forever in our hearts. It's going to feel like we were together, but apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Ashley, are you gonna be able?
You got it, Ash.
I don't know how anybody can encapsulate in 2 minutes all of what pop-up was. Oh man, I'm really having a hard time today. I don't have anything to read or a poem, but I just want to say a few things that I'm going to miss from pop-up. I'm going to miss our daily phone calls with his tidbits of knowledge and advice. I'm going to miss our conversations about the job. He'd always know what percentage of raises I was getting before I even knew. Talk about guns, endless stories of customs and his career. He'd always give you advice even if you didn't want it. He'd always insert his opinion if you didn't want it. It's like Adele said, he'd tell the same story over and over again in the same conversation, but he would never say, yeah, Bob, I heard that already. He would just listen. And say, yeah, I know. I remember one of my first memories would pop up when I was really little. I don't know why I remember this. I was about 4 or 5 years old, and Papa was doing something, working on the house and holidays. And I was playing with some pennies that I thought were chocolate. So I swallowed the penny, realized it wasn't chocolate. And I went to Papa, and I was like, Papa, I swallowed a penny. And he was calm and didn't get excited. He was like, why did you swallow a penny? He said, why did you swallow a penny? It's all this chocolate. So he picked me up in the minivan and took me to the hospital, and that's the story Papa and I would always share, and he'd always repeat. One of my proudest memories. Papa said he was so proud of me when I graduated from the academy, just to carry on what he was doing. And he was so proud of me that day. And he continued to tell me until his final days that he was so proud of me. And he loved me so much. I miss our Sunday dinners when I lived in Florida. I even miss when I would go to their house and I'd trip over the damn vacuum. just so many little things. Oh, I can speak forever about Papa. I don't want to. He wasn't the best with expelling emotion, but oh man. I knew just what lit up his heart so much is when I would bring my dogs over. And he just baby those dogs, he'd give them eggs and pancakes and endless treats, carrots, and that was one of his favorite things when he could babysit the dogs. He absolutely loved it. Grandma, I love you. Papa, right.
I just want to say one thing. Howie was not only just proud of Ashley, but Ashley took care of her mom in her declining days. And I don't think that you have any idea how much Dot and Howie loved you for what you were able to do for them, to do for Dee Dee. And he, one of the things that he said was that the best thing about him leaving us was that he was going to be with Dee Dee again. And he loved her, and he loved you, and he was so proud of you and Stephen and all of his grandkids. But you took care of his child, and he was so grateful and so proud of you for that. I just needed to say that.
I have a million things I want to say, but I'm just drawing a blank right now because it's a lot right now. But in the final days of talking to Papa, he was in a lot of pain, and he said, "Actually, I've lived a long life, a long, fruitful life. He's done everything he's ever wanted to do, but he was ready to go, and he was tired." And then he was ready to go because he got to see my mom again. What do I know? I'm gonna sit at a table somewhere looking down on us, telling us not to cry. Oh, I pop up so much. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
This is something very short, and I came across it, and I thought it would be fitting for me to read it. And this is for my husband. Thank you for your endless love that will help me through each day. And thank you for the memories that will never fade away. You're the man I loved and was proud to be your wife. And every day, in some small way, I will celebrate your life. As long as memories last, you will stay in my heart. And this is from your loving wife. I love you and I miss you. Thank you.
Sorry that you guys can hear me breathing. There are so many untold stories. And I know Marilyn's not the only one that Dad spoke to on a daily basis. I've spoken to my cousins in New York and North Carolina. And I know Dad spoke to those in Atlanta. probably as often as he called everybody else. I believe he and Rainey probably spoke almost every day. Applehead. Yeah, that's the nickname there. That 7 o'clock phone call. I don't know, maybe yours was 7:05, Marilyn, because my phone would ring at 7 a.m. And Matisse would just say, Howard calling. It was nobody else. It could be nobody else. And Dad would call and, so what's new? Dad, I'm not even out of bed yet. Or we'd just be getting back from the gym. Just got back from the gym. My day has not even started. But he did that from a genuine heart. I know Jimmy said that Dad really he didn't call you to have you tell him what you want to talk about. But that was his opening statement. And yeah, that's definitely going to be missed. The last few months, some amazing things have really taken place. And I've got many stories about Dad. And every last one of them as important as the one before it, and the one after it, and every bit as important as the stories that you have. But there is one story that I have that truly matters. This is the story back in April. So Dad was starting his chemotherapy. And believe me, that took great encouragement because he did not want to do it. Sometimes I think Dad really did it more for us than he did it for himself. I truly believe that. He was not going to do chemo. And I can't remember the occasion, but I do remember it was in April, and I think Max was there, myself, Matisse, and I think Dad had an appointment coming up on that Friday. And this was a Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. And he was adamant about not doing it. He needed to make the decision that Friday. And so from that Wednesday to that Friday, Dad changed his mind. He changed his mind. And we all had different things to say to him as an encouragement. I kind of told Dad, I said, Dad, you don't have that right. I mean, he did. It's his life. But as his children, as his wife, and, you know, he almost didn't have that right. We wanted Dad to be around as long as possible, and we wanted him to have every opportunity to
We wanted him to have every opportunity to be cured from cancer. So he started chemo in April. A couple of weeks prior, Dad knew he was sick. And all of the information that the doctors were giving him was a lot. Honestly, I don't think Dad really had a full grasp on everything. Mom did, because she was there every step of the way. I mean, she had every piece of paper that had something to do with his treatment. And what she didn't understand, you know, we would go over and we'd sit down and read it, and if we had to look something up to get an idea of what it was being, you know, referring to, we did it. Dad grew up agnostic. Dad grew up just not knowing what to believe. And he would be very straightforward in telling you that. I just don't know. That's what an agnostic is. I don't know. My father did not like religion. Frankly, I don't either. Religion can wind up being a legalistic environment of do's and don'ts. That's religion. So Dad said he did not know. And I'm not going to make this long. So we glad Matisse is not in here. I would be so in trouble for this. It's not staying.
It's too heavy, it's gonna keep moving.
But she had it. Closer together. Oh, wow. Oh, no, Matisse got to come out here and say, who moved that picture? So anyway, we were not trying to bring religion to Dad, but we had a pure concern for Dad's soul. And so we've been praying for Dad, and the Lord gave us the strategy that only He knew would reach Dad. And we wrote it out exactly as it was given to us. Wrote it out on an index card. That's exactly what we were told to do, front and back. Put it in an envelope, and we wrote the instructions on that envelope. Gave it to Dad. A couple of weeks go by. We visited once or twice, you know. That envelope was sitting right there on his end table, on the coffee table, or end table, whatever you call it, right next to his chair, his throne. And it sat there. Oh, one week we're over there, and the envelope is upside down, it's open, and we just asked Dad a couple of simple questions. I said, I see you opened up the envelope. He said, I did. No big long conversation, just I did. And then Matisse said, so, Dad, did you read it? He said, I did. And Did you follow the instructions that were left on the envelope? I did. There's a scripture in Matthew 10. It's Matthew 10:32. Jesus is telling not only the disciples, and it was more disciples than just the 12. There were many disciples. Anybody who would follow Jesus, anybody who listened to Jesus, anybody who pursued Jesus was a disciple. There were many disciples. And he said, if you accept me, or if you acknowledge me here on earth, I will accept or acknowledge you before my Father in heaven. That's Matthew 10:32. Matthew 10:33 says, But if you reject me here on earth, I must reject you before my Father in heaven. Now, I'm not going to debate the Word of God. Many people say, oh, well, it was written by men, and there are 66 books in the Bible. There were 40 authors, and every last one of them were inspired by the Spirit of God. And if you want to contest that, by all means, contest it. But contest it maybe at your own. No, you know what? If you choose not to believe it, that's on you. Dad accepted the Lord. He made his confession. And based upon that, based upon the Word of God, it was considered unto him as righteousness. See, we make it so complicated. We make it rules. We make it do's. We make it don'ts. God has never been looking for perfect people, because rightfully so, not one of us, in this room or any room, alive or gone, save for one. And Jimmy, you said this yesterday, except for Jesus Christ. You can never make that claim. He's the only one. I say this I truly believe that Dad had at that point, he didn't have all the answers. And truth be told, I've been walking with the Lord for 23 years and I don't. And anybody that sits there and says they've got all the answers, I'm not following them. No pastor, no preacher, no teacher has all the answers. Okay? The Bible says that it's not to him who believes, but it's to him who receives, have been given the right to be called the children of the Most High God. Debate it or not, that's for you. This is what I tell people in many circles. If you choose not to believe that, if you choose not to believe accepting Christ as your Lord and Savior, and listen, when I say that, it's not about, oh, now I gotta do this, now I gotta do this. No. It's a matter of you opening up your heart and letting Him in. He actually does all the work. All you have to do is follow. I tell people that if what you believe is in conflict with what I believe, then
when it's all said and done, and we depart from here, chances are, what awaits you is going to await me. You know, if we think we just go in the ground or we become ashes and life is over and there's nothing else left to it, if that's what you believe, that's fine. I choose to believe there is an eternity. Here's what I tell people. If you choose to believe that nothing happens when you leave here, then what awaits you awaits me. But if what I believe and what many believe, that accepting Christ as Lord and Savior is the way to go, you cannot say that what awaits you is what awaits me. It's a very fine line, but it's a line that requires a decision. It does. It requires a decision. My wife, my family, we will continue to not only pray for all of you, but we will continue to pray for all of the family members and friends and those who are observing online. Dad's good. Based upon the Word of God, Dad is good. And I have no doubt. I have no doubt that Monday, that Dad took his final breath. You had to see it. For the last 2 days of his life, he couldn't speak. His mouth pretty much hung open. And if his head was to the side, his mouth was slanted to the side as well. And it just stayed open, and Dad could not speak. Not a word. But when Dad took his last breath, even his eyes remained half open the whole time. But his eyes were closed. His mouth was closed. Even the lady who came in to facilitate everything from that point, she said, "Gee, it almost looks like he's got a smile on his face." And he did. You see, at that very moment, he knew something. Thank you, Rasul. I appreciate that. That's my brother here. Sheldon and Jeffrey don't know, but that's my brother. At that very moment that Dad took his last breath, his soul departed. What remained behind, that's in the box. That's in there. His soul had gone on to be with the Lord. And that too can be your portion as well. Thank you. Charles, would you do me a favor? Would you go get Matisse? Because I believe she's going to do the announcements. Or is there anything else that you would like to share? Yeah, I know.
There's so much more that I could add about Howard as being my husband and father to our children and grandfather to the grands. But he always strived to do well and take care of the family. We may have had words with each other, we may not, definitely did not agree on everything. But he was a good husband, a good father, and a good friend, if he liked you.
If he liked you.
I heard, stories about him on the job. There were so many comments that were posted after he passed when it was announced that he was gone. Very nice remarks. And I know he did have some enemies there, or there was some that didn't like him, or he didn't like them. But that job was his life for almost 40 years. Howard was not a college-educated man, but he can sit and hold his own with anybody, as has been expressed today. He was self-educated, and he passed that on to our kids and the grands. And he only wanted the best for all of you. Do your best. That's how he felt. And I know he's proud of each and every one of you, his children and his grands. And I just want to let everyone know I am so pleased to see all of you here today. Thank you.
Saved by the Bell. I was getting ready to do this for you.
I have several hats today.
I know you do. I think, yeah.
Well, before I get to the acknowledgement, I'd just like to say, how many phone calls did Dad make every day? I know we got one every morning. Every morning. 7 o'clock. Faithful. Like, that's Dad. And it sounds like many of you got those same phone calls. So yes, we will definitely miss those calls. We miss them already. The family? Okay. At this time, the family would like to acknowledge the following people for their thoughtfulness in sending flowers, baskets, and donations. Renee, Sean, and Shireen, Jessica, Ashley and Julia, Scott and Kathy Dutton, Robert Lee Goff, Chris, my son, Curtis and Rachel, sorry guys, Pastor Eugene and First Lady Felicia Davis, and Living Faith Church family, Andrea, Renee Lynn, the New York chapter of women's organization, The Drifters. Thank you all so much. We appreciate your donations. Perhaps you sent a lovely card or sat quietly in a chair. Perhaps you sent a floral spray. If so, we saw it there. Perhaps you spoke the kindest words as any friend could say. Perhaps you were not there at all, just thought of us that day. Whatever you did to console our hearts, we thank you very much. Whatever the part. May God bless each of you for your love, prayers, and support during this time.
And we also have a resolution from our church family and pastor and his wife, Eugene Davis Jr. And the resolution reads, Howard C. Smith, for if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. 1 Thessalonians 4:14. Be it resolved that Pastor Eugene Davis Jr., First Lady Felicia Davis, as members of Living Faith Assembly of God, are you here critiquing me, or? Be it resolved that Pastor Eugene Davis Jr., First Lady Felicia Davis, and members of Living Faith Assembly of God bow our heads to the will of God, whereas he saw it fit to remove from our presence our dear brother, Howard C. Smith. Know that God is our inspiration to face each day. He will show compassion according to the multitude of his mercies. Lamentations 3:32. Brother Howard has answered God's call. He has done what we all must do. To the bereaved family, be comforted. We are praying that you will allow God to comfort as only God can. Trust him and let him lead the way, for he is the Father of mercies and God of all comfort. So lift up your eyes unto the hills, for your help comes from God above, who made heaven and earth. He has promised that he would not leave you nor forsake you. So let God be your comforter. So then, be it resolved that we accept Brother Howard C. Smith's passing as a graduation into God's presence and an escape away from sorrow and pain. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. 2 Corinthians 5:8. We hereby resolve that a copy of this resolution to be given to the family and a copy be placed in our records. Humbly submitted this 31st day of July in the year of our Lord, 2021. Living Faith Assembly of God, Eugene Davis Jr., Senior Pastor, and Jacqueline Operero, our church administrator.
Amen.
You have any final words?
Yeah. That I struggle with the word saying that concludes, because it's not a conclusion. That enables the transition to the next thing for those of us. Of course, dinner is, it's lunch. Yeah. It's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We have lunch prepared for everybody, and that includes family and friends. So we hope you choose to stay, and we hope you choose to stay and enjoy the fellowship with us. There is more than enough. Yeah, there's more than enough. So we thank you. In the days and weeks to come, reach out to one another. We're all going to need that support. And for those of you who don't speak or have not spoken a lot, much lately, reach out to those who family is all we have here in the natural. That's all we have. We have the ability to allow the legacy of Howard Smith to be lived on in each one of us. Do him proud. Okay? So with that being said, we can begin to make our way into the cafe where I believe they are awaiting. And there's more than enough room for everybody. Doesn't matter where you sit, but please go and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.